Hi, Rex here at RW Mods. Today we're going to look at this Novarossi Mantra. This one, I'm not sure what the H is referring to, but this one's a ceramic rear bearing. And this one is a square stroke, so 16.4 by 16.4, similar bore and stroke to the Mephisto. This one looks like it does come with two restrictors, Venturis there. So it is nice that it comes with those. Looking it over here, it has a pretty standard head. It doesn't look like a too low of a head, just a pretty standard head. Pretty standard block. Looks like it's the carb that does not have the mid needle adjustment. So I did find this online I only found it at one place at about 220 bucks. Not too bad a price. I do kind of, I haven't ran this square stroke in the Novarossi brand, either the Mephisto or this one, but they do kind of intrigue me. I think they'd be a good buggy engine. I guess we'll dig into the insides here now. Okay, we got everything apart here. One thing I didn't say is looks like it has the 17011 double sealed front bearing. You can see the ceramic rear bearing. And this one, it looks like it has the standard rear ball bearing. It does not have that thin inner race one. You can tell by looking in. If you look in the engine down in through the hole there, the intake, you can see the width of the front bearing, or sorry, the rear bearing. You can see the width of it, because I have had a few people send me blocks to machine and they actually did not take that special rear bearing. So the crank, one difference between the Mephisto and this one is the crank's not DLC coated on this one, but this is a little bit cheaper engine too, so it reflects in the price. Does have a crank weight. Does not have the carbide crank weight. Looks like a little softer material there, bronze, brass, something. It's a little more generic of a crank. It doesn't have too much, bling or cuts in it and stuff, but it's still gonna work just fine. A piston and sleeve. Like I said, this is a 16.4, 16.42 or 16.4, so the bore is the same diameter as the stroke. Looks to be the team piston. The team piston is a little bit better material, the one with the dome shape to it. This one does have a couple of bypass holes in it. And looking at the sleeve, it's a 4-port. And it does look similar to the other 4-port Novarossi, and just kind of looking at it. Of course, the bore and stroke's a little bit different. Like I said, the heads, I thought the head looked like it wasn't quite this low, but this is kind of their medium head. They have some that are kind of pretty much flush here where it bolts, and then some that are really deep. This is kind of their medium one. So it sits down on the block a little bit. That's pretty nice. That's pretty nice height. Some of them get so low that they don't really get much air moving. Head button does have the O-ring. Looks like a pretty deep combustion chamber. I assume a 6 plug. Yeah, 6 plug. Carburetor. Can't get the cap off. Long low speed needle, which pretty much all these do now come with now. That's kind of their standard carburetor. The backplate does have the steel insert in it, and what they do is they mold the aluminum around the steel, and then they machine it all as one. I would assume it kind of prevents wear into the aluminum. Not really. I really haven't seen the aluminum ones wear, so I don't really know why they do it exactly, but it's not a bad thing, I guess. It does. They do it on their little bit more expensive, higher end engines. So this one's nice. It has a ceramic bearing. Like I said, the 16.4 by 16.4 stroke, the square stroke engines, they do intrigue me. I think it should be a good buggy engine. I'm not sure about the torque for Truggy. It does look to have some pretty decent numbers. We'll go over those in a minute. The bypass hole. Yeah. See, when the piston's moving, lets a little bit of air out from underneath the piston, but there's no bypass hole down in the sleeve like some of the older engines used to have to let even more out. So I don't know if it's really doing much there, but like I said, the sleeve looks pretty standard for their 4-port. I do kind of like the 4 ports versus 3. It's not so much that it's going to change the power at all, but when you have 4 ports, they're smaller than obviously when you have 3 ports. So there's a little more stability in the sleeve. It doesn't have as many big openings. Power wise, you're not gonna, as long as the timing numbers are the same, you're not gonna notice the difference between 4 and 3 ports, or even 5 or 7. So yeah, it is nice looking engine. We'll go over the numbers. So the Mantra 21, blowdown's 34, which seems kind of low. It was 40. These are the Mephisto numbers. So the Mephisto was 40. The blowdown, which is the degrees between the exhaust port and the transfer port, 34, which tends to be a little less top end. And then induction opening 149, induction close 63, for a total of 212. And so in the Mephisto had a little bit higher exhaust port, and then similar on the induction opening, maybe a little bit more. Induction closing is where the Mephisto was quite a bit different, had quite a bit of exhaust, or I guess not exhaust, but induction closing. That's so the crank window opens longer as it's going. So I guess we'll kind of talk about that a little bit. So the induction opening is when the crank window opens, and the induction closing is when it closes. So the Mephisto closed a little later. So I thought the Mephisto had a little too much induction closing. So the Mantra has similar numbers to what you find in a lot of engines, except for the blowdown. I would like to see that around 45 for a buggy. This might, if I got this maybe increased a little bit for a Truggy, it might pull a Truggy pretty good with the lower blowdown. Yeah, that's something you probably just have to run to see. So overall, the numbers are similar to the Mephisto. It being the Mephisto being a little higher end engine, a little more expensive, it probably has a little bit more timing and the DLC coated crank. But this one for the money, I think it'd be a good running engine for a buggy. Possibly even pull a truggy too. I think it might run pretty good in a truggy too. Um, so overall, I think it's a little lower end engine, but I think the numbers are pretty good. Should run pretty good out of the box. I mean, these numbers aren't terrible, so pretty good stock. I'd improve a few things, especially exhaust port. Probably raise the exhaust port for a modified engine, but overall, I think it'd run pretty decent. It might, with that lower exhaust port, probably not have the top end some guys are looking for, but for short track. So, um, that's it on the Mantra. So, thanks for watching.